it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me again today. Today I have another in my series on the ink pads that we sell. So I am again using the Illuminated Christmas stamp set and the star from it, and today I am looking at Memento Tuxedo Black. This is a fade resistant dye ink. It is water-based, it's fast drying. It says dries quickly on most papers. When dry, stamped impressions are water resistant, not waterproof, resistant. Dries on all paper surfaces, including coated and textured papers. Close the lid tightly and keep pad covered when not in use. Keep away from children. It comes with a re-inker, as in you can buy a re-inker. I should have said when I did my video on the classic ink pads that they also you can come with, or you can get re-inkers for those as well. I always recommend that you consider seriously getting your re-inker at the same time as your ink pad, because there is nothing worse than your ink pad being too dry to produce a crisp image when you need it. So that would always be my recommendation. I will do a video on how to do re-inking as part of this series. In fact, when I come to one of the inks, it'll kind of be dealt with anyway. So, yeah, that would always be my recommendation. So, what do we use Tuxedo Black for? Particularly bearing in mind that we no longer do our own archival black. We have Memento Black and we have StazOn Black, but we don't do our own classic ink pad anymore. So what is this for? This is brilliant for general day-to-day stamping. So we ink up in the same way. This is a fabric ink pad, whereas our classic ink pads are foam. This is a fabric ink pad, so it is a lot firmer. So you can give it a good old bash rather than a tap. I generally, particularly with a more solid image, will actually twist it and then tap it, because you get a better coverage that way. But I wouldn't just twist, because you can see the twist on the ink, on the stamp. But in much the same way as the classic ink pad, you just ink it up, hold it on your paper and bring it back up. And this is classic Whisper White. It's nothing nothing special. So that's the Whisper White, and we'll come back to what you would do with that in a moment. Then we have got Shimmery White. So again, ink it up, stamp it down, and another nice crisp impression. Watercolour paper, as I said in my video on classic ink, watercolour paper is not flat, it's got a texture, so getting a very crisp image is slightly trickier. So I would always hold my stamped image on the watercolour paper longer, and the Stamparatus is your friend, so that you can, if you don't get a crisp image, you can re-ink and re-stamp. But that's not too bad. But if I compare the Shimmery White with the watercolour, I don't know if you can see, there are little areas that are not really crisp. It's not bad, but there are little areas which are dented, so haven't quite taken the ink. You can also stamp, that's probably not a friendly colour to do it on, really, is it? Let's find something pale. What have we got in my drawer that we can use? Here's a piece of Blushing Bride, let's use that. That's probably a better colour, in that it is pale. So, Pacific Point's a little dark. So again, let's ink it up. Don't think we'd necessarily have an Illuminated Christmas on pink, but hey. And again, you get a nice crisp image because it's a flat paper. So we've now stamped. Oh, and what another thing I forgot to say in the actual video, cleaning up for classic ink and for Memento ink, you can use your stamping scrub or your chamois. The chamois you just use plain water on. The stamping scrub you can use stamping mist. That would be my recommendation. It conditions your stamps whilst they clean, and all you do is spray onto your one side of your scrub, and I colour code mine. so I know which is wet and which is dry, and then just scrub and clean or dry, and you get a nice frothy, apparently, frothy stamp. That's because it already had some spray on it, so we're kind of overspraying it. Let's just take some of that off. But yeah, you can put too much stamping mist onto your stamping scrub. It doesn't matter, but it does get foamy if you do that. So, having done our stamping, then what? Well, Memento, the classic use of Memento is for blends. I've got the colour lifter here, just to show that if you go over your Memento, it's, you know, I've left it to dry and it's fine. It looks as if it's smudged to begin with, but that's just the alcohol, and once the alcohol has dried, it's fine. So obviously you can do that on your shimmer paper and on your watercolour paper and on your coloured cardstock. So good to go with that. Then of course we can actually introduce a colour, and again, not the best colour to have chosen, but you should be able to see that you can colour it in. You can use a blend with it. It's not brilliant. It does tend to smudge it a bit, and as we found with the classic, it pills the paper. So it does smudge it a bit, but it's okay, but not fantastic. And then the Aqua Marker, again, it's okay, but you can see it's beginning to just run a wee bit. So, and let's see what happens if I do it on the watercolour paper. It's probably a better, you can see it better because the watercolour will take the water, but you can see that it has smudged or moved the colour around, so it's not ideal. So for the Memento, brilliant for alcohol markers, so the blends, not so good for the blender pen or the Aqua Marker, but you do get a nice crisp image. So there we go, and as I say, cleaning up is easy. You just use your Stampin' scrub or your chamois. If you use your chamois, you are going to end up with one side that is horribly black, if you're like me, and one side that is not so bad. But yeah, it's still clean. It's just what I call clean dirt rather than dirty dirt. So it's a stain rather than dirty. So there we go, the Memento ink pad. Come back again very soon and I will bring you one of our other ink pads. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Bye!